My first words of the day to you, my friends, as we look on a cloudy landscape here on the high seas of the imagination. We have staved off an attack from yesterday, and now we have calm seas as we sail forward after stopping by the island of Sicily between Scylla and Chabridis? We'll look it up. I should really know that. Welcome back, Artist Journal, November 14th, 2023, broadcasting from the year 2600 in Berlin, Germany. My name's Adrian Pocobelli, and here we have Feels. Let me put Feels full screen. Here we have Feels. Really cool work. I think it came out maybe on Friday. So this kind of escaped me till recently. I think LB retweeted it as I was looking at, there's a really cool LB work. Actually, that would go fabulously with this. You almost wonder if LB was influenced. Probably not. It probably came out at the same time. There's all sorts of stuff that happens out here, but really cool. I guess I'd call this an animated abstract. An animated abstract. And what is there to like? First of all, it's minted on Super Rare, just FYI, and Feels, I think I know Feels art mostly from Tezos, and that's where I discovered Feels, I think, where I saw these abstracts going for quite a bit of money, as I remember looking more than a year ago. And so it's really interesting to just see this gorgeous work here. In a sense, like, I wonder how hard it is to be original with abstract. Like, I assume it's as hard as maybe, being as original with figurative art, but it does make me wonder. I assume there's a lot of trial and error. Put it this way, I guess this is what I'm getting to, is you don't really plan a work like this, do you? I mean, I assume not. I mean, maybe Feels would feel differently. But I assume this is, let's try this, let's put on this, and you have no idea. You're not, like, again, I don't think this is a planned work. Otherwise, Feels is a super genius, and maybe Feels is a genius anyway. But I suspect this is not planned, and this is just something that comes out through trial and error. And, there's something to be said for trial and error, and it brings us back to the cider conversation, actually. I was thinking about that more yesterday. The cider comment on, should I mint a lot of work? If I have a lot of work, if all of a sudden I can feel like I can put this stuff out, make a work or two a day, maybe more, should I do that? And there's a difference between, I guess we'd say, the market and the creative act, because you don't know what you're going to make. And I would argue, back to this trial and error discussion with Feels here and the creation of animated abstract works like this, is the more you do, the more masterpieces you're going to get. Because not every work you're going to do is going to be a masterpiece. And if it is, then hopefully you get the super masterpiece, so to speak. And in my experience, I can only speak from personal experiences, my best works, it's not like they're planned. It's not like I thought about them for 6 months, then I go, okay, now I'm going to tackle that work, and then it happens. It's more, usually, it's when I'm being prolific, when I'm putting out a ton of work, and then what happens is 1 out of every 5 or 10 you go is a super work relative to whatever level you're at, within your universe. Every 5 or 10, let's say, turns into a super work. Some are going to be better than others. And so the value of trial and error is, I guess, what I'm getting at. So I was thinking about cider. It's like, yeah, like put out as much as possible, because you might put out a super work and you don't know that ahead of time unless you have a spectacular, but almost most of us, not all of us, some people really plan the works. I used to. And as I like to say, it's a torturous way of working, oftentimes, not always, but oftentimes, because you're really taking all the joy out of making art, because it's more about just trying to, tie one thing to the next thing, like, and just match this idea in your head, which is a very tedious exercise. And I've spent years of my life doing this. So I feel like I have some, I'm speaking from experience here. And I just thought, well, that is the sacrifice that is required, is what I said to myself. And, I was in my early 30s. And so I decided, but I don't recommend it. I recommend having fun, being prolific, and the more you do, the more that's going to come out. And then within 2 or 3 years, like Myth, I didn't bring them up, but Myth was releasing some works from 2017. It reminds me of those early RJ works that Legojo was posting, right? And they're humble works, just like Sabato's early drawing exercises. And these are some of the most celebrated artists in the scene, at least on this show. So all to say, you can go a long way by being prolific in a couple of years, like a really long way. And look at RJ being super prolific now. Where is RJ going to be in 2 years? Like, this is the weird thing about art. It's back to Heraclitus. No matter how far you dig or you go in the soul, like, you'll never reach its edge. I think they use the word logos, like, maybe we can bring that up. Now, okay, so we've gotten to Heraclitus here with Feels, so just a super cool abstract. All to say, a super cool abstract from Feels. Let's look at the reserve, and then we'll see if we can bring up Heraclitus. Reserve of 1.26 ETH, which now is 2,600. 2,600 US dollars. It's pretty interesting. We are in the ecosystem of crypto, and I love it. I think I think we're very lucky as artists to be in this ecosystem. I think this ecosystem works in our favor in so many ways, and you could do a whole show just on that. But one of the fun ways is, if you're used to the bear market, all of a sudden, if you've been saving your crypto from the bear market, all of a sudden all that money is going up. So you kind of get leveraged money if you're kind of getting it at the bottom and it goes back up. So all to say, this is a reserve of, I'd say, 1.26, which didn't sound that much a few months ago, and it's now $2,600. So very interesting. Minted November 9th by Feels on Super Rare. So super cool work. Shall we look? Let's find this. Let's see if we can find the Heraclitus quote. Heraclitus is a pre-Socratic philosopher, ancient Greek, 500 BCE. Heraclitus quote: "No matter how deep you go, you won't find the edges of the soul." Here it is. Philosophy quotes on Instagram. You could never arrive at the limits of the soul, no matter how many roads you traveled. So deep is its mystery. And I'd love to actually have the English Greek translation here, because I think logos is used in here. So deep is its logos. I think mystery is logos. So this is kind of another way. So we're in the art business. The reason I'm saying this, we're in the art business. We're in the business of the infinite here. The imagination may have no limit. So if you think you can just make a lot of work and see how far you can push it, because theoretically, theoretically there's no limit. If Heraclitus is right, and if there was a limit, what would it be? So inner space has its charms in that respect, doesn't it? So here are a couple more works by Feels I want to highlight. Beautiful. Really interesting, cool artist. Again, I don't know too much about Feels, but look at that, 250,000 views, right? And like, this is another bullish aspect of digital art, isn't it? Because, theoretically, a physical painter can put their work online and maybe get a lot of views, but it just seems like this is kind of a medium, Twitter and all this, that's designed for digital art. And, for example, you can make it move. It's a digital medium to begin with. You don't need to take a professional photo. And even when it's online, a digital work will pop more because it's made of digital colors rather than physical colors, which you're trying to photograph. Maybe you have to brighten it up, etc. So perhaps another, it really is, Twitter is or X is a kind of pirate ship in itself. I mean, look at the logo. It looks almost like a crossbones there without a skull. So look at it. All we need is a skull right here. So, and it kind of is for the art scene, I would argue. So just kind of interesting. I mean, 42,000 views here. Another one by Feels. So these are just some recent tweets. They may be older works here, You get the same kind of color scheme here, though, don't you? So again, maybe these are different trials and errors. I bet this is, like, if we go back here, it's a similar, not identical, but a similar color scheme here, right? So you almost wonder, are these just different processing results, right? Different results from trial and error. Interesting. So the hype is real on this Twitter space that we're doing tomorrow with Lorna Mills. She is trying not to be drunk, as she said here. So either way, I think it's going to be wonderful radio, is almost what I'd like to call that. Art the Mort is excited. Oxeye, you're in for a ride. And Tukes, most probably literally the best episode of all times. Get ready, fam. Oh boy, this is going to be a rowdy one. So people are excited. I was looking, it doesn't say here. I think there's already like 90 people that are signed up to this, so it should be a good one. Human Boy should be a fun show. The reminder has been set, though honestly I wonder why anyone would listen to a sober Lorna Mills, a real OG. And I thought we had Lorna Mills. I thought sometimes you don't get every tweet. Oh, maybe she put out a tweet on her own here. Let me just see if I can find it, because it's actually pretty hilarious, just to whet your appetite here. Here we go. Don't worry, I'll be drunk and talk about everything but the big picture and where we're going. As I was saying, I'll ask the big questions on what it all means and where it's going. Nice and general there. So anyways, check that out. It's in the feed. I'll retweet that today. And also, comments from last show. Score. Exciting show as always. I love how you talk about artworks. Thank you. Thank you so much for reviewing my works. Absolute pleasure. Shuda Yasukochi always makes music with modular. He is very happy you're reviewing his song too, and the music was perfect for that kind of, I guess it was like a blooming rose, if I remember right. It's an original song for this work, and I think I saw it on Twitter. This is, Shuda is Score's Saiko's husband. So isn't that fun? So a cool husband-wife combination, if I got that right. Skamra, great show. You're pumped at the beginning. It's great to see. It's so great to see Cider bring up the topic of output volume. Indeed. For me, I use Twitter to get feedback on my work. I use people's reaction and my own reaction to see it public, to inform what I should keep investigating and also what I should mint. Yeah, it's an interesting, it's not bad. They talk about the wisdom of crowds. It's not a bad gauge. I don't know if it's a perfect gauge, right? Because, there is this balance. Like, does the wisdom of Twitter or X, should you be going 100% on what it says? Because remember I think it was Guru Hyena put out the flashing work, and like there is sort of a reptilian element in the sense of if it flashes, maybe that'll get more views, and that doesn't necessarily make a greater artwork. So it's an interesting balance, but I know what you mean. Like it is a kind of, for lack of a better term, validation. Like when I see a work do well that I put up, I'm pretty excited about it. Like that last one, I was looking, it was 15 or 16,000 views. And I was like, oh, that was a good one. So I know what you're saying. And actually I find the wisdom of crowds, so to speak, from an art perspective on X, it's not bad at all. From what I can tell, it's not perfect, but it's not bad. So I wouldn't base 100% on it. But maybe you base 80%, 70%, depending on how edgy what you're doing is. Like if you're doing something very experimental and that might not be understood, well, then maybe you don't put as much emphasis on it, right? Because some stuff's going to be more difficult and more out there, and that's okay. When you put something out there, you should immediately get a chance to see if and how it resonates with people, and you have a wider audience from which to get reactions from. I think that's the advantage of digital art over trad art, and I think that will ultimately be how this space eventually overwhelms trad art. Even setting digital aesthetics aside, yeah, good point, because digital aesthetics are very important, but setting that aside, though that might be more important, the fact that we've closed the feedback loop on what works and what doesn't work accelerates our opportunity for growth as artists. Exactly, and we're not hindered by financial constraints either. And we have an incredible array of tools. Like if you ever feel like you get stuck, try a new software. You know what I mean? Like get a new app, and just start messing around. That's half the battle oftentimes. Look at Cap'n. Let's find another obscure software. Look at Sabato with the Deluxe 4 drawing exercises. Oh, let's try something. Here you have this incredible output. So let's continue here. Almost no one ever says you make too much art, you're being lazy, thoughtless. Exactly. Too much art is. There isn't a time, like if you're minting 10 works a day, maybe that's too much, right? Like maybe you pick the best of that 10 works and then you put everything else on the side and then maybe you mint it in other places and whatnot, right? And I think the viewers are generally smart enough to suss out if a process gets too easy as well, or if an artist is getting, quote, lazy, or as Scommer is saying, thoughtless. So very sophisticated feedback here from Scomra. Of course, you have to consider tokenomics in this space. Like, he's checking off all the boxes, I would argue. But even then, I think you can fit a high output volume into a creative token structure with some thought. Thanks for showing my works. A pleasure, Scomra. And Scomra continues to hit it out of the park. I think we even have one more today. Human Boy, take one is great. Wonderful episode. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it was fun. I felt great for being back. And you know what it was? It was a great sleep. I went to bed at like 9 on Sunday because I was just exhausted from the trip. And I woke up at like 7:30. So it was a great sleep. And there's a lot to be said for sleep. I didn't get a great sleep last night, but huge sleep on Sunday, and I think it's incredible. Sleep is magic. The sleep is magic. Another hugely enjoyable episode, Retro Manny. Thanks for giving Seabot some love too, my pleasure. Yet it is already minted. It was gifted to the highest collector of my Cyberpunk audiobook on Tezos, output for 2049. Regarding the current rally, I have to agree with you, the crypto rally. I personally don't think we ever get to go back to the gold rush of 2020, 2021. And this is actually it's a little too, the whole thing feels like, it's kind of like a bad movie, is how I feel. And I could be totally wrong, so don't take my, not financial advice, right? And I could be, so far I am wrong on this. Like, I didn't think it would get this high. I thought maybe in a couple of years, right? But for me right now, it's just a little too convenient. It's a bit of a rehash, and it's a little too close to this massive, it feels again like an echo boom. And so, but who knows? I mean, I think a lot of people feel that way. There were a lot of shorts that have been squeezed. Okay, so it'll be interesting to see. Things are getting more stable and more exciting, though. Sorry to sound like a steady, netty lull. Yeah, but I agree with your take on this. Again, for me, it's just a little, from a narrative perspective, I don't feel the same animal spirits, so to speak, as I did in 2020. When all of a sudden I thought, I have to put every last penny I have into crypto, otherwise I'm going to miss the opportunity of a lifetime. For whatever reason, I don't feel that way now, but this isn't a financial news program, and I'm not a financial expert. So just opinions here that, and again, follow your own path on that. And it's far easier to spot the scams way ahead of time of the curve too, so evidence of sustainability is what I'm seeing right now. Also loved what you said about zooming into the works, and yes, some social media friendly art doesn't stand up to closer inspection. So it is always a pleasure to explore these works in detail when the artists show that care and attention to details, brushwork. You know, it's a weird kind of thing. It took some time in this show to actually develop this idea. Sometimes the simplest ideas are kind of breakthroughs. Like, it was kind of obvious idea, zoom in on the work. But I didn't think I did that till like at least 15 shows in, maybe 20. I think it was a myth work, and I started doing it with Rat Cloak, maybe 20 episodes in. Something great about galleries, but also you can definitely get a sense of, even in the metaverse galleries, in my opinion, including the scale of the work too. Anyways, great show. Thank you. Cider, awesome take on my tweet, Poco. Excellent fodder for discussion, Cider. Excellent discussion point. We'll for sure give it a try. Honestly, much love, and right back at you, Cider. Great to hear from you. Maybe we put Cider, see if Cider wants to come on the space in a few months here, 4 or 5 months, get an update on what is happening over there. Santiago is a Codal. Yeah, I was calling it the International Protocol File Server. It is actually the Interplanetary File System. So, correction there. And also, first comment, thank you, Santiago. Great to hear from you, and I'll be in touch in the next couple of weeks about doing that Friday podcast. And Rada, I'm sending this episode to my relatives and all those people that mocked me. I kid. One love. You are a great emissary of our community. Well, thank you very much, Rada. One of the established statespeople of this scene and just a huge supporter. And I totally appreciate that. Also, we got a few comments here. Just thank you, Gozo. Great to hear from you. And I just wanted to go down to Strange Thing. Thank you, everybody, for the comments. Strange Thing gave some more insights here. If I knew these Uxine pieces, thank you for the kind comments again surrounding my work, especially amongst all these amazing art pieces. If I knew the Uxine pieces were going that low, I would have swooped in with some bids. I think we all slept on this drop. Absolutely. And there we go. Let them bring their drills, onwards we march. And this was exactly how there we are. We returned fire. So thank you, everybody, for the support here. And awesome to hear from you. And okay, so let's get into some of the interesting things we're seeing online. So Dina Chang had showed a really cool, I don't know how she even got this video. Gorgeous mint plus print with a stunning AR layer. Wild. So Nicholas Sassoon, you might remember, we were looking at this work, and remember there was the weird sale? It kind of went at auction for 2 ETH. And then it was kind of a mistake auction of sorts, and so it's being re-released as a digital physical edition of 20 at half an ETH per edition. This is very cool work by Nicholas Sassoon, and so I guess it's like an AR version too. So how cool is that? And here is that tweet, and here's the print. Each edition of Studio Study is sold with a 24 by 24 inch, so that's not small. That is a nice looking print. Signed Archive Giclée print on 300 grams, 100% cotton, acid-free Entrada paper. So that is interesting. I've never done a Giclée. So it looks pretty sharp though, doesn't it? And so interesting. Collectors of this artwork will receive both the NFT and the print at no additional cost, shipping included. And there it is. It looks like really nice paper. It looks precious, which is really kind of the goal. When you're making a physical, you want it to look precious, right? And I think that's been achieved here. So interesting. Dina Chang, our NFT Tuesday LA meetups have been a beacon of light for me. Dina's at least been doing this, I think, like we talked to Dina Chang on the spaces in August. So here, she was doing it back then. So here, I think she was starting right around then in July, August. Thank you, Ibuki Kuramochi, for sharing snaps from last week. So here it is. I'd never actually seen any of the NFT Tuesday LA, so I assume that's Dina Chang. Looks pretty well attended. Looks like a serious crowd. And there you go, digital paintings and everything. Looks like a pretty cool scene in LA. Continuing on, this is the Art Matter robot, Pale Kirill. We've been looking at this series here for, I guess, a week or so. With a new week ahead, it's time to share the announcement. Not Me series created by Tender Art returns on Wednesday. The 9 pieces will be available at reserve-triggered auctions with the same price, each piece coming with the oil painting made by Art Matter robot. I still feel weird, like I assume people have to credit Art Matter, and I really like Art Matter and what they're doing, but I feel weird again about this credit issue. Because it feels like they're supposed to credit Art Matter. I mean, here's my philosophical question for you, if anybody wants to comment. I was thinking to myself, is this like crediting like Adobe if you're using Photoshop? That's my question. Like, what's the difference between, if I use Photoshop and I'm using Photoshop's tool to make my art, but it's my art and it's my design, so I do have questions on the authorship issue because it seems like there's an emphasis on Art Matter being the author. Now, all to say, let's not let that distract us. Let's look at the works because these look a little bit more, I don't want to say successful, but they look a little bit more, it's not as obvious that there's a textured underneath, that these were produced with the texture underneath first and then kind of printed over top. They seem more, for lack of a better term, persuasive in the sense that they look like a person could have done them, like a really skilled painter, interestingly. They're beautifully painted. Again, credit to the Art Matter technology here, right? Like this looks a lot more convincing over here. in terms of we're not seeing a brushstroke texture continue with the color changing, right? And you're even seeing this interesting mix here of color. So, and maybe that's what's making this look more quote unquote persuasive is it's almost like a great technique of painters, even especially today, to make the brushstrokes look interesting is to put two colors in a brushstroke. Because then you get all the randomness when you do a stroke like this, and then you get a couple of colors here, right? In all of these strokes. So it kind of looks like there's a mixed color here. Not sure if that's an illusion. Here they're pretty pure, but again, they look quite convincing in the sense that if you said a human did them, it wouldn't be apparently obvious to me that that was untrue, okay? That is what I'm getting at. Look at here. Again, it looks like two colors in the brush stroke, and that's pretty impressive. And here, like again, we're not seeing the texture bleed into here, and so interesting, right? So there may be different kind of iterations here. Again, this looks like a little bit more like, closer to Helio Santos. Like if you were to say, different colors were used on each brush on this, I'd say, yeah, I could see that. Look at this right there. A lot of these, especially because you have the multicolor, maybe that makes it look more convincing. Maybe it is a different process. Maybe that is what's going on. I'm not sure. All to say, this highly textured paintings by Pale Kirill, this is another kind of touchstone here as we kind of go from digital to physical using the paint plotters, isn't it? I mean, there is something, there is another kind of landmark here. Machine just in the studio. And here, I just thought it was a cool work here by Machine and just interesting and such an unusual artist. I would actually say that I'm just kind of like excited to show more. I mean, look at this kind of, it's almost like a bug or a crab, lobster with a heart for a head and some antenna, just totally unusual and very cool and kind of small. Look at the tape. You see how small this is. As it continues, this is super interesting and it actually is extending. Bitcoin, blockchains by NFT sales volumes, Leonidas posted this yesterday at 8:27 p.m. Berlin time. Bitcoin is now 47%, almost half of NFT sales volume, and Ethereum is only 13%. And what's interesting, remember we added all this up and it came to about $35 million in volume total, and I was kind of impressed at how well it's doing. It kind of adds up to the same. 29, about 30, 32, 33, 34. So pretty interesting. It looks like Bitcoin's taking increasing volume. Now, that is also with Ethereum going up in price too. So it's not like just Bitcoin's going up, so therefore they're getting more kind of, sales volume because the token's going up. It actually is probably trading. So just very interesting. And just a little bit more on Ordinals. This is why Ordinals is so amazing, which is, of course, the way you inscribe images and documents on Bitcoin. Someone releases an idea into the world, i.e. a bitmap. People are free to inscribe it on Bitcoin. Anyone on the planet is free to build on it. Interesting. Holders are incentivized to collaborate. Builders are incentivized to share information in open source. As long as you hold the underlying inscription, you benefit from the growth and openness of the network. You don't need to build a closed-off business anymore. Better to share information and encourage growth than to build walls around your brand, because as the network grows, the price of the underlying token increases. Everyone wins. So, interesting speculation here, isn't it? Because it seems to me that this would be a different way of doing business. Right? So just kind of, again, perhaps a window on the future here. And one more from Ordinals Wallet. In the future, if you have a business idea, you just release the protocol and be the first one to inscribe. Raising funds and hiring around a business idea will be less attractive and slower to market. As your holder count grows, the number of people in your network that are incentivized to build on your idea also grows. You don't even need to hire people to work out your ideas. You just put them out there and let the holder network handle implementation. This is like the revolutionary idea here. If the idea is good, it will take off. If not, it will fall by the wayside. Again, broadcasting from the year 2600 here, maybe earlier. Opportunity will be as abundant as ideas. This is a new paradigm, so pretty fascinating speculation here. Kuro sent me sealed, and question. So I think this is a new platform that offers like gasless bidding. If you're selling art for less on Tezos, why not list the same piece on sealed for a super low reserve? With gasless bidding, anyone can afford to bid, and with Victory auctions, all bidding is fair. You only bid what you can afford or however you value the work. Dare to try sometime once actual gas lowers enough to mint. Haha. So I'm not exactly sure what's going on here, but I thought I'd highlight the tweet. Again, it was sent to me via Kuro. And I think actually I have a work on one of these platforms minted by Kuro. So we'll see it in action. Burka Byram. My illustrated Rip Van Winkle PDF book is now featured on Zora's homepage. So Burka putting another work here on Zora. So what's kind of cool about Zora is it's kind of a catch-all for stuff like this show. Do you have a book that's maybe too big? You just want to mint something. You don't want it to cost a lot of money. You want it to be available to people who are willing to collect a wide array. They have kind of like a collector base that likes collecting, just kind of a lot of different kinds of things. So beyond art, documents and this sort of stuff, books. So just kind of cool from Burka here. And cool that Burka did a book on Rip Van Winkle and the illustrations. Continuing on, Martin Bruce, oil JPEG GIF. And so this is a super interesting situation here. So I have a theory. And my theory is actually the oil came second. So this is the oil painting. And I suspect, based on this image, that actually this came first. I may be wrong on that. But I suspect, look at the shadow here. And then you come back here. But it's hard to say. But I imagine the digital came first, but I could be wrong. And then the physical. And I almost wonder, like, is this the leftovers of the physical? Like maybe, no, it's actually different. The painting is different here. And then if we look at the GIF, we see a moving version. So I find this really interesting, as I find all of Martin Bruce's work now. Just very interesting. So not exactly sure what's going on, but pretty interesting. And this is why I'm highlighting it here. So Cider, look at this. And so the wait is over. My digital garden, soon on super rare as my Genesis on the platform, need to figure out how to import my contract. That's an interesting question. If anybody knows how to do that, you can mail Cider, message Cider. So a pretty interesting choice for a super rare Genesis here. A garden, and it almost feels like a kind of version, if I understand. I mean, they look like flowers to me, don't they? I mean, it's almost got like a bit of a Monet water lily kind of feel to it in terms of the just overall, look and texture. And it's almost like, I think I brought it up big by accident here, so let's actually look at it. What's so interesting about this is it almost looks like Cider is able to, it's like putting the underpainting in pink here and then putting the blue over top, but you let it bleed through. I mean, kind of a classic painterly technique. And I mean, here it almost looks like we're looking at blended brushwork. I mean, it's kind of got that feeling here. That's part of what I think makes Cider's work so persuasive, is it kind of has all this noise in it, this randomness, the same randomness we appreciate in when you mix two or three colors together, let's say two colors in a brushstroke, in a physical brushstroke. So pretty cool work here by Cider. And I believe this is like a garden of flowers, if I'm not mistaken here. So just very, very cool work here from Cider to be minted on super rare shortly. Another epic work here. This is Quampa, Simple Thoughts, Microsoft Paint 2023. This is on imprint. I'll bring that up. And I always love how Quampa puts the what looks like a modern version of Microsoft Paint. Like I was always imagining when people use Microsoft Paint that they're using old versions. But this looks like Windows, the modern Windows, right? And this is in print, Shop Black Friday. So what is this? Open a print shop. So maybe Quampa is selling. Look, you can get a Quampa print for $8.50. Very interesting. So we're seeing another crossover here with physical and digital. How interesting. I wonder if these are limited. Doesn't look like it. So it's basically if you want a print of Quampa and you can determine the size. So more interesting. You can make a card. Very interesting canvas and everything. Interesting way of doing. Cool title too, by the way, Quampa. And very interesting. And here's Deca Art. So again, it's kind of like multi-chain, multi-platform, multimedia. And Deca.art, I think this is the portfolio site, if I'm not mistaken. So very cool from Quampa. So RJ puts out another really cool drawing here. Kind of a pixel drawing. What does he call it here? Pixel drawings. There we go. So, and there are a few of them here. So I think we looked at the others, but you gotta love the roughness here. Again, the square pixel brush, I'm a huge fan of. I have some drawings I'm gonna release too from the pixel art sketchbook that I've just not enough time to release, but all to say, but I love what RJ left out in this piece, because again, we saw the background in the other. This was one I didn't see. And let's just open this big. Like, is this, I bet this is as big as it goes. This is probably a square pixel brush. Again, pixel drawings. The square brush, again, makes everything new. So I'm a huge fan of this. RJ putting his own spin on the pixel drawings, on pixel sketches. Very cool, someone in bed. And I wonder if this is pastiche or not. Interesting question. Ezra Eslin, this was released November 13th, so just yesterday, actually. Demian, interesting title. And again, as I like to say with Ezra Eslin, like violence as satire. And that's what you can do in fiction, just like Marquis de Sade, and you can even have some humor about it. And there's a Pepe and a knife in the background, and someone painting, kind of an... the fire in the background of this person who seems to be dead, and just kind of interesting, isn't it? A cool work. Demian, cool title, and classic Ezra Eslin. Mint for 0.035, but buy now for 0.42. So I wonder how many, was only one minted? No, I think maybe more. Yes, there were a few minted, but isn't that interesting? Now 10x. A lot of people, and look, it looks, yeah, so, or maybe actually there's a lot more than, there's actually quite a few that were sold. 25 were sold, and now it is 0.42 ETH to pick one up. Smonter, I was going to say a lot of the speculators in like you'll see on Zora, they'll often just 10x it, and then they'll put the new price once the minting window is closed, and they put the new price. So just kind of interesting. Smonter. Accurate portrait, Smonter's second profile picture on X and Object. So a rare self-portrait here of Smonter. So very interesting, cool artist, as we know. Always an interesting angle, right? A very interesting angle as usual. Daniel W. He comes to collect with a couple here. This is on Object for 5 Tezos. And another kind of haunted work, again, using this kind of print language, the language of print here, the visual language of print here, and even working with some very cool, almost giving the sense of wind, these little marks that look like maybe leaves moving around in a shadowy figure here on a hill, looking like October or November here. The Weeping Gatekeeper, here's another one, and let's just get that going. So cool works by Daniel W. Demon Ego is influenced by horror. It seems like Daniel W. is influenced by horror. It's pretty interesting as a subgenre, isn't it? Nice negative space here, by the way. Daniel W. on the whites here. Very nice. And also on, it calls your attention. That's where I'm looking mostly, interestingly, is at the negative space. And again, you get this kind of movement of what look like leaves or just marks on the paper. The Weeping Gatekeeper. Nice work here. Edition of 24 for 5 Tezos, 13 left. And here is a new one by Axstone, GM Level 1. I think it's a new one. I saw this in Uxine's feed, and I thought it was a great work here. Look at that, 23,000 views. Again, it's like the visual language of video games. It's like video games as subject matter, right? Video game, interfaces as subject matter, and we see it here with Axe Stone, and pretty effectively and immediately identifiable as an Axe Stone too. So just cool work here. Continuing on, here is Jordi Gandul, Builders 1 of 1. This was sold for 0.1 ETH and just minted on November 10th. This is part, I think, of a Super Chief show, I thought, or Builders 1 of 1. What is this? I'm not, yeah, it's, or maybe a DAO. Maybe this is something different. TB DAO. Anyway, just listed here. You might recognize their art from Tezos, I think. So a nice Ethereum piece. Kind of feels like a bigger, simpler composition for some reason. I'm not sure why. Maybe it's because it is. I'm not sure. Feels zoomed in a little bit. Point 1, the Builders DAO. That is it. So there you go. And there, I think they have a whole show. Look at that. Is that? We'll see if this loads up. Who is this? Digital drawing with Clip Studio Paint, created by the Builders DAO. Not exactly sure who this is. Interesting piece. Kind of has a bit of a vaporwave kind of feel to it. Interesting work. Continuing on just on Uxine's feed again, just seeing Uxine's kind of process at work here. I thought it was kind of a nice illustration on how Uxine works. Right? There's probably 3 or 4 frames here. And what's so interesting about, I think, this movement, like this GIF, this movement of GIFs, and like, because this is my point. You take each one of these frames separately, you go, meh, like, cool, very nice, right? But is this, how great is this? It's like, cool, right? I mean, this is Uxine, this is great, okay? But my point is, you take each frame on its own, it's okay, it's good. But you then move it, and it takes on a life of its own. Like, this is the work, right? Like, it's in the movement, is what I'm trying to say, that things are that the real kind of poetry, let's say the most exciting, this is what I'm trying to say. It's in the movement that the exciting poetry takes place on this work, is what I'm arguing. It's in the movement. And there's one that we haven't gotten here, I feel. But you see, so just interesting, isn't it? And it kind of breathes, and it kind of becomes its own organism, and it gives you, and what is the issue? This is the one I was looking for. What is the issue is, okay, it's cool, very nice, right? And it has this treatment process, but maybe it's not complex enough. Like, maybe it needs something, and what it needs are these other versions, right? And then you start mixing all the versions together, and then you get like a much more organic, poetic work, arguably. Anyway, great work. Again, just like tossing off a GIF here with very cool text as usual from Uxine. This is Oxeye. And what is this called? Walking in an exaggerated manner towards the perimeter of a self. So kind of a cool work. Kind of has a crypto art feel to it, doesn't it? And, kind of, looks like a, AI or kind of like facial recognition technology or AI recognition technology in the hands. And then it's kind of this loop of sorts here with a subway going by. Pretty nice work, isn't it? So let's see what's going on here. I think this is a 1 of 1 on object. This was minted. We'll see if it sold. Sometimes I bring these. Okay, so just minted. So very cool here. 175 frames. So how big is this file? It must be a fairly large file at 175 frames. Pretty interesting. Good morning. And so this is by Ugo. Sometimes, as we call Ugo 42. This is by Ugo here. Good morning. And just another cool work using the, what is the name of this person? It's like the Microsoft helper. So playing with the Microsoft iconography, and really nice, actually, really nicely done in the animation here. Kind of back to the animation. Again, we see it here again. You freeze it, it's like, yeah, this is okay, this is fun, but you put it all together and it's like it comes alive and it becomes its own thing. So we're talking GIFs tomorrow with Lorna Mills, so this is almost prelude to that to a certain degree. Like, it's quite interesting. Again, when I came to the NFT and kind of the digital scene. I was doing digital on my own. I didn't realize there was a whole Tumblr scene and all that sort of stuff. Maybe vaguely. And I knew there was something called super rare, but I had no idea what it meant or what it was or how to put my work there. All I knew is I had to apply, but I didn't know anything about crypto. And so when I came, I was kind of like, I had a bias towards static, but I wasn't overly familiar with GIF culture, for lack of a better term, Tumblr culture and the whole GIF thing. And you see, I mean, it's movement. You see how important movement is to this kind of art, to this kind of digital art. It's just interesting. At least for me, Mumble Boy. This, I believe, was sent to me. Let me just double check. Yeah, Authentic Waffles sent it to me. Okay, and so interesting. So, yeah, so this is someone called Mumble Boy. And thank you, Authentic Waffles. Pretty interesting work. Kind of reminds me of Mo SHIT, as I like to call them. And pretty cool work, isn't it? I won't show everything that is sent to me, but I try and be transparent about it. And I just thought it was a cool work. There's a couple other AI works that were sent to me, and I thought those were worth showing too, or that fit the program, so to speak. And here actually is Mo SHIT, Temple Miz Dream Monster. So we saw one yesterday. This one's slightly different. I think there's a humor here that I really like, and a simplicity and an originality, I would argue. And remember yesterday we saw this one? So here's another one of one. And how did it sell? Looks like it did sell. Oh, just minted. Or maybe, let's just reload quickly here. Then we got to run through this program again. I keep hoping we're going to have short episodes, but seems, okay, just minted. So not listed yet, okay? This is still available for 20 Tezos. That very nice piece we were looking at yesterday. And here we have Zwoxo. I want to call it a cult favorite, Zwoxo. This is on Zora. Amazing. Just a super interesting artist. Love Colleen. Just a really, really cool artist. Nuv1914 could hang in the same show as Oxo there. Look at these great... You know what stands out to me? First of all, actually, it's the really cool composition here and the originality in the composition and the boldness. But really, what screams out to me is this blue gradient. These blue gradients on the side. And then you have this stripe here. It's almost like this is, I'm almost, the word is outrageous. These outrageous blue gradients on the side here. Really cool work from Nuv1914. And I think I picked this one up. I think I was lucky enough to pick this up this morning. Yeah, 10 Tezos. Got a one of one. Novius. Pretty cool work. Again, you get the blue gradient here on this kind of Polaroid structure here. Wee, whoa, whoa, wee. Very fun work. Thrilled to get that. For $8.89. Fabulous. Lena Eckert, GM Awesome People, have a great week. And I thought these gradients kind of went nicely. Interesting kind of architectural work here with a little bit of gradient, a little bit of texture, and you see light cycling through here. So cool work from Lena Eckert. Is it Lena Eckert? Lena Eckert. So cool work there. And this is by Santiago Ruau, another cool work on Zora. So another interesting abstract here from Santiago Ruau. Only 2 minted, so you can get one here, and maybe it'll be a nice low edition Mirage. Another work by mech.txt here, and as we see here, a beautiful use of negative space. That is what screams out at me. I can't wait for these to be minted. I feel like I won't be able to afford them. They are, in terms of the excitement I have, and maybe it's my bias towards trying to make art like this myself with Ultima 4, art that celebrated Ultima 4. This is, again, it's a great series when you wish you did it yourself, and that's how I feel about this series. It is fabulous. And Look at this. Like, see, it's kind of like a classic, almost like margin by mech.txt, and then boop, boop, boop. Huge pixel, huge pixels kind of dropping out here. But then it turns into this majestic, super interesting composition, doesn't it? It makes it much more poetic, right? It becomes like more like, I mean, it's art before, but then it just becomes more poetic, as we are discussing with GIFs. You could have each frame separately, but it's much more poetic in the GIFs, in those GIFs, to have it moving. These ones, it's debatable, because sometimes static works better, or still. These ones, I think the jury's out, which is more satisfying, that's also interesting. In a sense, if the static works don't survive enough on their own, or not, then maybe it's time to bring in the movement. I mean, just one passing thought. Gate to Moria. A very interesting color choice here, too. Figments, internal host partial reconfiguration. This is an edition of 15, probably now on secondary. Oh no, on primary for 1330. And I think this was just released this morning. So more beauty here from Figments, also known as Kappen. Great work here, and love the color cycling here. Can't remember the name of the software, but it's just an older software Kappen is using here. Obscure, Arpresti, and also I think GIMP, and combining the two. I need to try out GIMP again. I haven't tried it out for like 6 or 7 years. Estrato, Arpresti with another interesting kind of pixel art abstract. This time with a red background. Quite a large file here, edition of 3. And let's see, and just minted. JoyKid, 001. So interesting piece here. Almost looks kind of game-like, doesn't it? And almost looks like a crossword, almost looks like Mario, and a whole bunch of color cycling chaos. I could see this doing really well on Twitter. Sean Luke, edition of 7. Turn again, come full circle. And these kind of look like hourglasses, if I had to guess, and a really cool background here. And I think this is a 1 of 1 for 150. So, and then you get these interesting cycling kind of vertical areas here, almost like rivers of pattern and almost like liquid here. And then a RGB, quite a complicated work, actually. Turn again, 132 frames. So this is the standard here. 132 frames, 640 by 640, 32.9 megabytes. Oh, edition of 7 for 150. There are 2 left. Wow. So selling at a premium here. Very nice. And continuing on, Manidal and P1. Let's get the music going. So Manidal doing the art, I believe. BGM P1. Background music, P1. There we go. Pretty fun piece. Nice music. Look at the turntable too. Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful. Wonderful color, as usual, with Manidal. Stop that. So we almost listened to the whole thing there. Continuing on, Chaz, Super Mario. Press start. So we've seen a lot of retro games here, and we saw Tetris. Now we have the start screen for Super Mario. Pretty fun, actually. And then you get the plants and the stars as stickers on the wall, plants on the shelf. Very cool. It's like the video game is leaking out into the external world a little bit here. And some drinking boxes. Retro gold here. Super Mario, and that is 3 Tezos. There are 6 left. The market continues to be very healthy here, I would argue. Jacques Disclosure, Half Past Away. So again, feels very crypto art-esque. Love these huge pixels here. Nice colors too. And those pixels just create a great contrast with what's going on here. Interesting processing in here as well on the computer monitor or the computer. Just create what you love. So, and then you have a skull. Half Past Away, edition of 15, and that's all on secondary. I guess there's probably 2 Tezos on primary. Yes. Haiti Rocket Virus V31. Virus version 3.1 RIP. And here we have another cool, what looks like hand-drawn or mouse-drawn kind of work here, what I think, and some great cycling here in this little kind of chord. And you see some I don't know what that is. Blood or energy going across this kind of almost broken screen here. RIP. A computer-generated art. Interesting. By Haiti Rocket. Here's another one. Maybe a preview of another work. I didn't see it minted anywhere. So interesting work here. I wonder if Haiti mints on Ethereum. I remember there was a few works on OpenSea like a year ago I looked. But I don't remember seeing too many works by Haiti Rocket on Ethereum, interestingly. Pixel Fool. So another just cool animated abstract work here as we run through the rest of this episode here. I am trying to keep these shorter. Datura, super cool, big chunky pixels. There's something to be said for big pixels, hey? So another cool work here, phone display. So these are, you can get these on Object. They don't load up in my browser, and that's probably my browser issue, or maybe a security thing. On Mac, not sure. So Renki, so I bring up the Twitter version. Renki Nishigawara, another cool animated abstract by Renki. Here, black and white, 10 Tezos edition of 10. There are 10 left, and look at this work by Elby. I think I was talking about this at the start of the episode here. Pretty nice piece, hey? Again, big chunky pixels. There's something to be said for that. We're seeing it in mech.txt too. These very large pixels. So very nice, looks like a desktop icon that has been abstracted here by LB, M05WX, 333. There are 5 left. Another super cool abstract here by Ranixtier and DJ Kiro, Momentary Lapse. And let's just make that big. And you gotta love the understated colors, the texture of the analog video glitch, and just the interesting composition. Again, look at how pretty that is. Just another take on abstract. Beautiful, love the warm gray. In the background there. And here is another one. This is by Kiro, and this is on that platform I was telling you about. What is the Sealed? This is sealed.art. So pretty rad piece here by Kiro on sealed.art. What is this called? If I can, a teardrop of loneliness that taught me how to lie. So I'm not sure what language that is. Last sold for 0.05 ETH. Kiro continuing to make the sales here. And again, I think this is a gasless auction. So not sure how that goes. If there's a minimum, very interesting. So not a bad sale. Again, ETH at 200. That's still $100. Nice piece, but still $100 sale. I was tempted to start with this. Personal bias here. Beat Machine, Ex-Mortal. Look at how pretty that is. I just love this stuff. And I love how it's transparent in the back. Very, very nice piece by Ex-Mortal here. If I had to guess, that looks like an Akai S1000. But there are so many of these days. But I'd guess that's an Akai S1000. It doesn't say. It just says Beat Machine. Oh no, here it is. A digital Eurorack module and glitched with a Syntony. Maybe it's glitched with this module, not that being the module. This Roland VR3 capture device. I think that might be a S1000 Akai. Not exactly sure on that though. Another one by Ex-Mortal, a one of one, the Dreamer. And there is the person within the movie camera. So very cool, or the movie projector. So a couple of really cool works here by Ex-Mortal. Let's just see what that sold for. Sent Tomato. For free, or maybe not for free. That could have been a private sale as well. Let's just see what happened here. So he's sold out at 666. So nice work from Ex-Mortal. Gorgeous colors. Olin, 43,000 views, as you'd expect from a work like this. I mean, a pretty amazing digital artwork here. Head turner, and just cool. Great texture here too. So pretty wild stuff here. That could be an older work. Phosphor Operator. So I think we saw the Polaroid yesterday, or the Instamax. The next glitch portrait is Faux Operator, one of my longest and biggest supporters in the space. Accepting offers over 10 Tezos tomorrow at noon, which is probably today. And here it is. So another really cool glitch portrait here by Eitso. A very cool series. And here it is, edition of 10 on Object. Pretty cool portrait series here. Continuing on, Enrique Cartajo, Augurs. Thank you, Explainer Gallery, for collecting the one of one CRT Seascape. So I think this is part of a whole series here. Very cool. And I remember Enrique Cartajo, if I'm pronouncing that right, had a great, some great seaside kind of family works. Very moving stuff with some, I think, some pretty great music. So cool. I think you'd call this a CRT monitor, old TV monitor, a whole series here. As you can see, it looks like a generative art series, maybe. Limited collection of abstract seascapes made with processing with data from personal archives. Very cool. Rocano going on. And is that Mario again? It looks like Mario in the background there. It is. And here you see palm trees, Mario. Sometimes all you need is just good ingredients here. You put them in, bottle of Coke, and there you have it. Everything is cool. Coffee, everything, beer, Bull Run Dreams. And this is Pixel Lord. And I think as we go into AI, I think this is AI. I'm not positive. Maybe it's edited AI. Cool work here by Pixel Lord. Skeleton, which I think we've seen a few skeletons before. Again, kind of looks like an AI skeleton. Nice kind of I like this kind of rough selection here, by the way. Adds personality. Reminds me of like Hasdrubal Waffle and that edge on the rough selection. And here is Skamra with another pretty cool portrait here. AI illustration, I want to call it. GM from Skamra, GM back Skamra. Thank you for all the comments. And another just fabulous work here from Skamra and these great AI illustrated keyboards, AI hands, and everything. Nice colors there too. Speaking of Hasdrubal Waffle, Hasdrubal pointed out no hygiene a few days ago, saying, you know, there's something going on with no hygiene, and I think he's right. Like, it's pretty interesting, and no hygiene has kept with this really interesting, really rough kind of AI video game. I've been watching it, you know, narratives, shall we say, or content, and I brought up their page. Kind of cryptic here, fashion, and you see, like, the whole thing is kind of cryptic. Like, you see here, and I think a lot of it is AI. So this is the object page, and there's a ton of it. You know, again, pretty edgy, looking like 3D video game type stuff. 14 pages of it. Mints a ton. And here it is on Zora. And here is no hygiene on Zora. So more out here. And they are being minted here. So just interesting, edgy, experimental AI work from No Hygiene. So just interesting to check that out. This was tweeted out by Dina Chang. So this is the Tangential, maybe by Helen Crispin on Taya. And this looks sold out, only 2 editions. Let's make it big. I mean, again, pretty experimental stuff here. Kind of looks like a photo with some sort of digital collage on top, a lot of depth of field in the photo, and then some sort of patterning on top with a gradient. Again, bold experimentalism, I'd call this. What is this called? Tangential the Gardener. Interesting. And this artist sent me a couple of works, not this one, but I thought this was really great. Invisible Emotions. So they collaborated with Paper Doll. I thought this was a pretty nice AI painting here. And Olivera Durdovic is the name of the artist. And here's another one, Fluid Identities, an edition of 30. And again, I think this one and another was sent to me. I thought pretty nice, actually. And I don't send everything that's sent to me, but if I show a work, I will be transparent. Yeah, sent to a lot of people. So there you go. So I thought pretty nice AI artwork here, AI painting. I think it's AI. It doesn't specifically say, but they collaborated with Paper Doll. So I suspect, and just by the look of it. Mikey Wilson, You've Got a Friend. So pretty cool work here by Mikey Wilson. And yeah, just a couple of people in a cafe, ambiguous who they are, wearing their kind of futuristic balaclavas. Again, an AI art painting. Very nice painting. Again, and there you almost see a Hokusai wave in the background there. Fabulous work and color by Mikey Wilson. And Ocote, Our Culture Persists Because It Resists. I mean, this Global South series is fabulous. I just feel like it's got it's captured the zeitgeist here. There's something to say for that. As we pass the 1 hour mark, we're almost done here. Look at just interesting, kind of very Latin American colors, I would argue. Feel free to disagree. but kind of bright and a lot of reds and kind of yellows. Our culture persists because it resists. Anyways, fabulous topic here. Global South. I think, again, just kind of hitting the zeitgeist here. Edition of 13 for 250. There are 4 left. Great topic. And actually achieving the executing on the topic quite well as well. Beautiful paintings and interesting portrayals. Danielle King, as winter froze the life out of fall, an exploration of AI collage created with M-props. So another beautiful work here by Danielle King. As you can see, these awesome strips. Again, it's sometimes easy to forget that this is AI that is doing these very human-esque shapes here, because it looks like a very nice kind of human painting. But this is AI. So again, the power of AI and beautiful color here. And so as winter froze the life out of fall, so maybe these are trees, one could argue. So almost like semi-abstract and interesting. Just all this kind of brushwork here. 1 of 1, 75 Tezos. Danielle King does it again. Tukes, exciting news ahead, save the date. So Tukes has been teasing us for a few weeks here. And it continues with another beautiful piece, a still life, with a painting in the background. Kind of almost turns into abstraction here. But you see kind of a flowery plant, but you do see a still life that's almost dripping into the chaos of the paint here. Dripping and, bleeding into abstraction here. With another little bit of representation here. Interesting colors too, as usual. Evelyn O, standing ovation in my private DM group, in my Discord, and on my Nokia beeper right now. So Peace at Sleep has been selected to be shown at NFT in New York City. So big congrats to Evelyn O. And I think it's this one here. So very cool. AI, I think, makes AI artwork. I'm pretty sure this is AI art. And definitely, and here as well. So very painterly and very interesting, working with distortions, AI distortions here, and the body flowing into ink here. So very cool. And look at the texture here as well. So nice work from Evelyn O. And congratulations. And what else did it say there? I thought it said something else on, I thought I missed something there. Will be shown tomorrow. SKU 1.5 on repeat will be shown in Unknown Collector 123 Curation Absence in the Patrick Amadon 404 show. Lesson to self, don't burn artworks you believe in if they sat 6 months on super rare. Indeed. Indeed. Mr. Bezold, Labyrinth of Brocaded Chrysanthemums. Digital painting by Mr. Bezold, and this is AI, I believe, all AI here, and so just interesting work. I thought kind of an interesting double here, interesting change of background, and just interesting composition. Even the margins here, the beige margins on the side. Edition of 4, 25 Tezos each. Very cool. And here, Clown Vamp, I thought had a pretty interesting piece here. It's on Instagram, so it's kind of small here. But interesting, again, AI getting this kind of, almost this blood coming across the front of the image here, almost as if it's glass. And there's some sort of kind of light red blood kind of splashed against the glass in this person, maybe behind the glass with their protective gear. And as we go into the physicals here, Joao Salazar, I'm shortening these shows. That is my promise to you. Still Life number 2, minted 0.03. I actually thought it would be a short show today. So beautiful texture here, and another physical minted by Joao, another Salazar. Nice piece. And there's the skeleton smoking at the computer with the warning sign and an apple. Super textured. Pretty interesting. Here, what is the name of this artist? I don't see. Palandingdong. Just an interesting piece I saw on Instagram. Kind of using these gradients are popular, aren't they? Just interesting. And of course, Catherine Bernhard, major kind of contemporary artist and famous for these Pink Panthers. It's interesting. There's video out there where you can watch her paint some of it. Just very loose, watery, big brush strokes, not too careful. And you get pretty nice results. So this can be at Art Shanghai, which opens November 9th. So I guess last weekend. Mr. McGrath. So this is an interesting artist too. I have a few works by them. Pastel, oil pastel, and acrylic on canvas. Like nice work here. again, another example of how there's just so much interesting artwork out here. Here's another one. This is graphite, colored pencil, and acrylic. Again, just like there's a lot of nice art out there, isn't there? Here's another one. Walking hibernation, small threats averted. So very interesting. I'm not sure. I think this person has a lot of followers. So let me just look here. Yeah, 97,000 followers. So 3,000 likes. Yeah, so they are making waves out there. Adam Forsyth Studio, Gapeface Snow Ghoul. And how big are they? Only 3,500 followers, so pretty interesting painting here. Nicely done. Definitely gets your attention and pretty original, isn't it? Interesting color, too. I think neon's pretty interesting to use in contemporary painting. And of course, Donnie O'Donnell with another really cool work, close-up of what looks like a cat. Pet portrait commissions. So interesting business. Look at these great flowers, too. Edgy, making it look easy. And of course, walk, and look, playing off of the emoji. And here I brought it up big. You see the wondery, the mastery of walk. Delightful and great as usual. That's on Zora. And that is your show, my friends. Thank you for joining me. Until next time, take care.